Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 146 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today my guest will be Ricardo Tubbs, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, let's start with our quote. And that is, Jiu-Jitsu is not the art of hitting, it's the art of not getting hit. And that's from Hoist Gracie. Okay, for this interview, I had a chance to be live and in person with Ricardo Tubbs, a great guy, and really am glad I had that opportunity to spend some time with him. Ricardo is a BJJ black belt, and in this interview, we do get a chance to discuss a lot of different things, including his beautiful academy, and that he uses the academy for things beyond jiu-jitsu, which you'll hear about, his career in the Navy, his time in the medical field, his awesome family, including his wife, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, his Ghee Company, his business advice for those running an academy, his jiu-jitsu philosophy, and the biggest influences in his life. So I don't want to give a whole lot of it away. I know you're going to enjoy this interview. After the interview, make sure you stay tuned for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. And without further ado, let's talk to Ricardo. All right, I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Ricardo Tubbs at his academy, and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure of mine. So glad occasionally I get to go and be on site with people to do interviews, and it's such a great experience getting to meet you firsthand and seeing your beautiful place. Just for the listeners, Ricardo and I met kind of through Facebook. He let me know he read my book and that he really enjoyed it, so it kind of started a dialogue, and we're getting to know each other more as time goes by. So this is a good honor for me. Ricardo, let's just start by talking about your academy a little bit. And I have a number of things I want to ask you about, but it's an incredible and beautiful place. When did you open it, and how'd you come up with the name? What does that mean? And we'll go from there.
Well, so we actually opened way back in 2014, like that's so far ago. But we opened on the other side of town, and we moved over here to this facility. The funny thing is my son used to do gymnastics at this place. And I said, if they ever close or they ever move, that's where I want to put my gymnastics academy. So we moved over here almost 4 years ago, completely renovated the place, added new bathrooms, basically everything is all brand new. And it was the academy that we wanted to build, a nice big open mat space. We have about 3,400 square feet. And so that's our academy. And then as far as the fan amount, that is my nickname. There's a long story as to how that became my nickname, but that is my nickname.
If we have time, if you want to go into it, if it's not for public ears, that's fine too.
I mean, basically, long story short, when we did certain techniques, we would talk about the positioning being like, the definition was a specific move for that particular position. And for some reason, I always got it right. And so because I kept getting that position right, that became my nickname. So like if our coach yelled out definition, that's what we did in that position in a tournament. So, and the other thing is, if you know anything about Brazil, like every third person in Brazil who's a male is named Ricardo. So if you go into a jiu-jitsu room and go Ricardo, at least 50 people are going to turn around. so everybody's got to have a nickname. So that became my nickname for a long time. So that's the shortened version of how it became my nickname.
That's great, man. I love hearing the backstories to people's nicknames and how they name their academy and things like that, because it's always usually a very fun or interesting, insight on that. So,
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So your academy, like I said, is beautiful, and it's huge, lots of room, and you also have some workout equipment in the back, so you got a little bit of different things going on. A great pro shop area. The viewing area is really cool. Just a huge wall of, I guess, glass that people can see through to watch people training.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun building this place. When we made the reception area, I said I want the front desk to look like a high-end hotel when you walk in, and I think we did a pretty good job with that. We've got the industrial look, and it looks nice. We're pretty proud of it. And then I don't know if you noticed, but if you look at the mats on the wall, I don't know if you can see it from where you're at right now, but if you notice, there's a big black mat, and then at the end, it's red. So it looks just like a black belt. So it was a pretty fun thing that we did over there, and it's nice. We're really proud of it.
Very cool. You've done a great job with it, and you're also putting in our a coffee bar or coffee area.
Yep. So we'll have a coffee shop soon enough. It's been a project of ours ever since we opened, but kind of COVID put the stop to it. But we're getting back to that now, and we've actually kind of advanced a lot of our jiu-jitsu, or a lot of our things that we're doing here. We're actually getting ready to put in hyperbaric therapy, and we actually do stem cell therapy right out of the academy. We turn the office into a basically a small little clinic office room. So it's pretty cool.
Now that is very, very cool. You don't come across a lot of gyms or training facilities that are doing stem cell out of their facility. How did that come to play or come to be?
Well, I'm very lucky that I met Kevin Lucas from New Hope Regeneration, and you and I have talked about this before, but I'm a 100% disabled Navy veteran, and I had a lot of injuries from the war, and just being in the Navy forever, preparing to go to war, and I was having a lot of problems. I've had at least 3 TBIs that are in my medical record. So those are traumatic brain injuries, and I was having a really hard time with memory and some other things. And I'm very lucky that I met Kevin, and I'm a sponsored athlete from New Hope Regeneration. And I had the stem cell therapy done, and it's been amazing. I've had so many changes in my body that have really helped me out a lot. I mean, a few months ago, I couldn't even lift my arms over my head because of the arthritis I have in my shoulders, and neck injuries and back injuries. So I feel so much better. I was able to get myself back into pretty good shape. I competed again a few months ago, and I feel great. So because of that, I said to Kevin, I said, I'd love to have you come out and talk to people here and see if anybody's interested in it. And I said, look, if you need somewhere to do the therapy right out of, we have space in our academy. Let's just do it here. And so that just kind of started that. And Kevin's been fantastic. I definitely think that people should look up New Hope Regeneration and see what they can do for them. But I'm also going through some other programs right now, working on recovering whatever I can because of the TBI. So I'm working with a group called America's Mighty Warriors. And they take care of people like me who served the country in war and had injuries. So I've had brain scans done, and I'm actually doing hyperbaric therapy now at Hampton Roads Hyperbaric. And I feel great. I'm sleeping better. My headaches are gone. That's really important to me. Like, being able to sleep is such a huge thing. We could do a whole podcast on that, but we could stick to jiu-jitsu. But it's been a huge, huge help for me.
Man, it's really interesting. You've got a lot of great stuff going on here, and I know for most of us, what we seek out and find that works for us, the reason we seek it out is because we have a need, and we have some things that we need to get taken care of or straight or healed, and it sounds like you've found some things that really work well for you, so props, and it's great to get the information out to others, especially other vets who have suffered, so that maybe they'll be more aware of some of the services or modalities and things that are out there. So, yeah, that's great.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because I'm going through this therapy with guys who I'm completely in awe of. These guys were frogmen. So if you know anything about frogmen, they were the original SEALs. So Vietnam era. And then these guys are plank owners at the SEAL teams when the SEAL teams came out. And these guys are teaching me so much stuff that I didn't even know was available to me as a veteran. Now I'm trying to share all that stuff with other people like myself who are in need, who simply could just get some of these therapies that are out there. A lot of them are done by VSOs, Veteran Services Organizations, that really help us out. And so now one of the big things I'm doing is I'm reaching out to all of my friends who may have some issues and see if we can't help them. Years ago, I remember I was teaching class, and one of my friends called me and he said, "Hey, you got a minute to talk?" He's actually now a Master Chief Petty Officer, Command Master Chief. He called me, Corey, said, "Look, I got to tell you something." I said, "What's up?" "I'm in the middle of teaching class. It's got to be important." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Kevin's dead." And I said, "Wait, what are you talking about? Kevin's dead?" And Kevin took his own life. And so this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. We actually started a foundation called the KB1 Foundation, which helps people to deal with PTSD and suicidal ideations. And basically all we do is we just ask other academies to provide 6 months training for somebody who may be identified as somebody in need of jiu-jitsu. And I send them out a Ghee, and, we've helped out some people that way. Hopefully we'll be able to keep pushing the KB1 Foundation. I think it's very simple. If we could just get people out and out of their heads and to have them start doing things for jiu-jitsu, it certainly will help them out a lot. And there's a lot of other people who do similar stuff, but we're just trying to do our best to help people. So KB1 was named after Kevin Benton. It's just one of our ways to try to give back to other veterans. And it doesn't even have to just be veterans. It can be anybody who is dealing with PTSD or suicidal ideations. Just get you off of your couch and out of your head and on the mat.
Such important work, and that's a good point you made. I mean, my heart goes out to the veterans for sure, and I think we need to do all we can to focus on them. But as you said, PTSD isn't just veterans. A lot of people only associate it with veterans, but there's all kinds of traumatic situations that lead to PTSD. So very cool that you're working and doing your part. I'll definitely put some information in the show notes to help spread the word on that. We all got to do what we can to raise awareness and to offer help for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Let's change gears for a minute and just back up and tell me where'd you grow up, and then how did you get to jiu-jitsu? What led you to jiu-jitsu?
So I grew up in Massachusetts. Went to college, first at the University of New Haven, then at the University of Maine. And then after college, I joined the Navy. I lived in Maryland for a little while. I joined the Navy. And basically what got me into jiu-jitsu is I had an injury, and I needed to do something. And I was lucky the very, very first person to teach me anything whatsoever about grappling was a guy you might have heard of. His name is Boss Rudin. And Boss taught me some things. And, it's kind of like one of those things, it wasn't the longest time in the world, but the impact that him teaching me something had on me lasted for a lifetime. And it has really, really helped me out a lot. I've been very lucky to be able to study jiu-jitsu. And what, you not everybody can say, yeah, the guy who first taught me jiu-jitsu was like, the king of practice, the UFC champion. But I was very lucky. And he taught me, and I fell in love, and I really just got to learn a lot of jiu-jitsu after that. It's been a lifelong journey since then. So it's been over 20 years.
That is cool about your first exposure being with Boss Rudin. I was able to have him on the show, and he's just quite a character, larger than life for sure. So I can't imagine that being the first exposure to jiu-jitsu. So after that, tell us more about the jiu-jitsu journey. It's been 20 years, you said. So tell us about that journey.
It's been a long journey. I've been really, really lucky. I've been able to train, under Salo and Sanji, Hibero, Alan Murillo. My instructor who gave me my black belt, who I work with, his name is Master Ricardo. He's a Carlson Gracie black belt. I've had the pleasure of working with really a guy who's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu instructor. Not a lot of people know his name, but they should. His name is Marcelo Alcantar. He's been a big help to me. I trained under Dracolino. I trained with Leo Cantu. I mean, this is all the reason why I've had so many instructors is because in the military, we move so often. And I've been really, really lucky to get to learn from so many people. Even my good friend, Aurelio Gallegos, also in Corpus Christi, I got to learn from him. He's phenomenal. There's so many. Like, just this jiu-jitsu journey of mine has gone on so long. I wish that I was like some other people where they only had one instructor their entire time. But, you were in the military too. You wish that it could be like that. But for me, that's not the way my journey went. And I think it helped me out a lot because I got to see a lot of different ways that different people teach and how they run a school and how they carry themselves as professionals. Like, I know I'm running on here, but like when you talk about tense encounters with people, even small encounters with people on how they handle their business. I had an opportunity to train with Travis Luther, and the way he ran his school, the way he ran his classes, and just him as a person, I learned a lot from him. So there's a lot of other people. I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of people mad if I don't mention them, but I've been very, very lucky to learn from some amazing jiu-jitsu practitioners. And then, of course, you and I both share the pleasure of, learning under the Pedro Sauer system too. And right now I'm really, really lucky because I've been friends with this guy for a long time. His name is Bruno Bastos. He's a multiple time champion under everything, Ghee, no Ghee, masters, adults, all those things. And we've been friends for years, about 10 years, I think, and maybe more. But now our competition team is under Bruno, and I've learned so much from him over the years. I can't speak volumes about him, not only as a competitor, but as a human being too, and a coach. I call him my sensei. I'm very, very lucky to be learning from him too. So, yeah, the journey continues and it never stops.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've had a chance to be exposed and learn from some really great people. When you're talking about Master Bruno, what stands out as far as distinct, or what do you feel like you got? It sounds like it was a kind of a missing puzzle piece that got filled in for you. So what do you feel like that was that you didn't get prior to that?
I don't know if it's something that I didn't get, but I think as we grow in jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is all about exploration, right? We train with Master Pedro, and he's like, "Oh, let's see if it works," and so that's the thing. You're still always looking for what works, And it's not that I needed to find something else. It's every instructor needs an instructor, right? You never stop learning. If you think you have all the answers, then I believe you're making a mistake. And if you are trying to improve, you need to have somebody who's going to push you to improve. Again, Bruno and I have been friends for years. Anytime I ever had questions, even before I joined Lead BJJ, if I had a question, I could reach out to him any day. And he would always pick up the phone, always answered my questions. And even if I brought something up to him, he never just said, yeah, that's a great idea. He would say, well, let's look at this. And let's see how we can do this better. Like I tell people, Bruno's been a black belt longer than I've been training jiu-jitsu, right? That's kind of crazy to think of. I've been doing jiu-jitsu over 20 years. He's been a black belt longer than I've been doing jiu-jitsu. So why not try to learn from somebody who's been at it longer than you and has been successful and continues to be successful as a coach, a sensei, and a competitor? It's not very often where you can find people who can do it all at once. And he's good at it, and he's helped me get better with a lot of things already over the years. So I'm very, very proud to be part of the Lead BJJ team.
That's great.
That wouldn't change it.
Very cool. And so it wasn't necessarily the way I said something missing. It's just part of your continued growth and exploration and continued development. I like what you said about every instructor needs an instructor. I think that's really important because, in every field, even say counseling or something, the people that do well, let's say just in this example, a counselor does well if they have their own counselor or therapist or whatever. And you can apply that to anything. So jiu-jitsu, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, when they become an instructor, think, okay, now I'm focused on my students and that's it, which is wonderful. That should be one of your main priorities. But your continued development under the guidance of mentors is very important. So I like how you really emphasize that.
Yeah, I tell my students all the time, like we do a lot of seminars here. We just had Jeff Curran here just a couple of days ago. And I tell my students, I don't have all the answers, right? But it was very interesting. What was very interesting to me was that Jeff, what he taught, we had no discussion about what was going to be taught, but he literally taught the same thing that I taught over the last month. And same thing with maybe a slightly different perspective. And some students, the light bulb came on. And I kept telling them, this is why we do this. Like, this is why I bring additional instructors in. And typically we'll do like a male instructor, then a female instructor, male instructor and a female instructor, because we all have different perspectives. We all do the same stuff, right? Some people may have some additionally fancy stuff, but we bring male, female, so everybody can learn. And we're lucky here too, because my wife is also a black belt, and she's one of the instructors here, and she gets to teach, and our students get to learn from her too. So, and she's phenomenal. I say so much about her background and how long she's been training. And, she wrestled for high school and college, and has been doing jiu-jitsu over 20 years also. So she's got a wealth of information. She's truly is phenomenal, if you ask me.
That's awesome. First of all, I think it's really great that you have your whole family involved. I really admire and respect that. And how great is it to have the most important person in your life, your significant other, on the mat with you and helping you run your academy and just being involved in everything. So her name's Heidi, right?
Yes.
So she's here. Heidi, you want to say hello?
Yeah, let's say hello.
Hello.
Any words of wisdom, Heidi?
Keep a growth mindset. Be open to different schools of thought and influence. Just because you get the black belt, if you do, it's the end all be all. Because I believe that purple belt was actually my belt of growth. I baked out at purple belt for over 6 years, and reaching black belt and everything, just see things from a little bit of a different perspective. Of course, also when you teach, it makes you think about things differently because you're not just the student. You have to explain the hows and the whys. So your brain has to make different connections. So teaching is probably just as important as learning, as long as you understand fundamentals and principles.
Excellent. Excellent. And Heidi's a nurse as well, so props to her for that. The nurses are the heart of the medical system for sure, besides being a killer on the mat. So, yeah, I'm a little jealous that of what you guys have together with that. My wife is not interested at all in training, and that's okay. You know, she does her thing, but I always think it's cool when I meet a couple that trains together and runs an academy together. It's very, very cool. So, excellent job, guys. And speaking of medical, Ricardo, you have been in the medical field over the years as well, right? In the Navy?
Yep. So I was an independent duty corpsman for a long time, and then I got commissioned, and I was basically an epidemiologist, a public health specialist, and that's what I did for the longest time. I did it for my entire career. I had a very diverse career. Very lucky about that. I've done everything from, deploy with SEAL teams. I deployed with the Marine Corps EOD, different Marine Corps units, and of course some Navy units too. So a little bit of a different career than most Navy guys. I have very little ship time, but a lot of deployed time. So guys who've been in the military understand what I was doing. Most of my time was boots on the ground. So we pretty much the entire time I was in the Navy, we were at war. So I spent a lot of time doing that.
Well, thank you for your service. Navy corpsman, man, those I've always had great respect. I was a medic in the Army, and so I'm familiar with what that takes, but I've always heard with the Navy corpsman, they're on a whole other level. So much respect to that. And then to go from enlisted up to commissioned, that's great. That's kind of rare, I think, that people get to take that path. Greatly admire the ones that do. It gives you a lot of different, perspectives from different areas or different viewpoints. So very cool that you were able to do that. And it sounds like you saw some very interesting units and situations and areas. So,
well, first I'd like to really thank you as an Army medic for recognizing how amazing corpsmen are.
Got to give props, man.
Yep. It's about time I finally got one who admitted it. But
yes,
no, and you know what? I've been on deployments with the Army too. So actually, I've been on deployments with every branch of the service. So when you do some of the things that we do, it all the lines get blurred. We all wear the same uniform. It's just some things just say something different on the pocket. So, but yeah, I certainly enjoyed all the time. I'm very lucky that I made it back every time. Not everybody did. So I thank my lucky stars that I did, which is why we are always trying to give back to, the military and the community that we live in.
Absolutely. So we touched on your family. We got to talk about Heidi, your wife. Tell us a little bit about the rest of your family.
So we actually have 6 kids, which means we don't watch TV ever. Somebody will get that joke out there. But no, so we have 6 kids. The older children all compete, all train jiu-jitsu. We have 2 little ones, a 3-year-old and 1-year-old who don't train yet. But yeah, we're really lucky. We're a blended family, of course. But we really enjoy doing what we do, and it's nice that I have an academy where my kids help me with classes. They're all instructors or assistant instructors, and yeah, we're very lucky. So one child in college, one working, and the other one, the 15-year-old, almost 16, can't wait to move out. I don't know why. I keep feeding her, but they want to move out and grow up, and that's fine too. In our house, it's funny. In our house, we have this rule. It's called the 3 E's. Have you ever heard of the 3 E's?
No.
Okay. It's educate, enlist, or evacuate. So
I have a 17-year-old, so I need to adopt that pretty soon.
so they've got choices, so two of them are, you got to move out. One of them, if you go to school, you can stay at home as long as you're in school, but at some point in time, you may want to go away to school. So pretty much I'm telling them they got to get out at 18.
Right.
But,
Got to do one or the other, right? Make a decision.
Exactly.
Love it.
Two of them, one of them is a bad decision, but I would say, I'm never bad decisions. You got to grow up at some point in time. And we're lucky. We have great kids and they're all doing their own thing, and I'm proud of all of them.
All right. So you also, among your other things you have going on, have a Ghee Company, a kimono company. So tell us a little bit about that and how did that come about?
So long story short, I've told this story before, but I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, lots of people would have ill-fitting gis. Like the gis just would look right. And I remember going to tournaments, and I would just walk up to somebody and go, "Like, I think I have a gi that'll fit you better than that one." And everybody does jiu-jitsu. Like everybody of different body types does jiu-jitsu. Like for the longest time, you might get 4 different sizes in a gi, A1 through A4. And if none of those fit you, you got to figure something else out. So when we opened or started the company, the whole thing was I just wanted gis that fit everybody. And you can't just have 4 sizes and think that everybody's going to get a gi that fits them out of 4 sizes. So we have women's gis, kids gis, adult gis. We have 56 different sizes, which is ridiculous and overkill. But I mean, when people get gis that fit them, it's very important to them. I actually just sold a gi to a young lady up in Canada, and she wrote back to me. She was like, "I'm literally crying because I have a gi that fits me." That's really important. So, but the reason why I started it was I had an incident at war where things didn't go so well, and I was lucky to come out of it okay. And I said, when I get home, I've always said I wanted to start this company, so I'm going to start a Ghee Company. My father used to make, we had a small clothing factory in Massachusetts, of course, went out of business when everything went overseas. But I knew how to do some things and had some good ideas, and I guess maybe it was in our DNA. And so I started a company, and we've been around 12 years now. So it's maybe it's more than 12. I don't remember. But yeah, we're really proud of it. And the name of the company is a tough one. The Firma Kimono Company. That's wasn't so hard to come up with that name, but it's funny whenever I see my old professor, he always tells me I owe him money because he gave me the nickname. So, but he's not getting any. But but no, so yeah, so that was really the whole premise behind it, and we also do custom gis. We don't do it as much as we used to. The business of gis is really hard right now. There's so many different companies out there. There's been so many companies that have started and not made it for whatever reason since we started. We're still hanging on just because I feel like we provide a service to the community. We make great gis that fit people, and that's the whole key. And they last too. That's also very, very important. So yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. And we try to make a really, really high quality gi and make it at affordable prices, and that was always part of our plan.
Super important. I definitely understand what you were saying, that so many gis. I remember starting in, with a Judo Ghee, and then I'm not even sure what you would call it, but it was so long, in the bottom of the top part, and then the sleeves were short. So as the gis developed more jiu-jitsu-like and more fitting of the body, I really liked that. But the quality hasn't always been around, except on certain brands. So it's great to hear someone who has that many choices as far as sizes, but also high quality. So props for that.
That's the whole goal. I mean, listen, as far as judo goes too, I had a bunch of Judo Ghees. And even like right now, I'm working on after 20 plus years of studying jiu-jitsu, I'm getting closer to studying and getting my judo black belt. It's going to take me a while, but I have a fantastic instructor and Dr. Roddy Ferguson, who was an Olympian. He never takes his foot off my back, and I appreciate it. Just like I said, every instructor needs an instructor. And now I've got Roddy Ferguson as my instructor, and we're friends too, of course. But I appreciate it when he puts his foot in my butt because we get so busy. Sometimes you need somebody who's really gonna give you that little push. So it's important. Or sometimes it's a big push from Roddy.
Yeah, I've heard great things from him. I've never had a chance to meet him, but I've definitely heard of him and just an amazing judo practitioner that he is.
Yeah, you'll have to get him on the podcast. He's a very, very interesting, very intelligent man. I truly enjoy having conversation with him.
Excellent. We'll certainly work on doing that then. So, Ricardo, since you do have so much going on business-wise, Ghee Company, this amazing academy, do you have any business-related advice to either running an academy or just in general for anybody out there who either has a business or is contemplating starting one?
I mean, if I was going to give advice to jiu-jitsu instructors or really any business instructors, you need to have a plan. And just what works for you doesn't mean it's always going to work for everybody. I talked about people who help me out along the time. People don't realize how important it is for other people who do the same type of business as you or any business to mentor you. And I always talk about I tell, I don't know if you know who Scott Smith is. He's a Pedro Sauer black belt out in Kentucky. Him and his wife, when I was opening up our academy, would just give me advice. And that advice meant so much. Same thing. I had another guy up in Northern Virginia. I tell him thank you every time I see him, and his name is Rick McCoy. Just tell him thank you. They're like, what did I do? I was like, you answered my questions when I had questions. So the one thing that I would tell anybody starting out in business or even in this is find some mentors. You cannot, you don't have all the answers and no one person has all the answers. You can learn a lot from from some people. Be careful about who you get all of your advice from. You've got to take that advice and you've got to put it together for what you're trying to do. But you can learn a lot from people. And so if I was going to give anybody any advice is have a good mentor. And as far as running jiu-jitsu, I run the business. I teach many of the classes here. Probably 85% of the classes I teach here. You need to prepare. Like one of the things that we've probably seen before, I'm not saying it's wrong. If it works for them, that's fine. But in my opinion, being prepared to teach every day and having a curriculum spelled out for you for 6 months, a month, whatever it is, make sure you know what you're teaching and that you're getting your students to the position where you want them to be. Like having a plan and having a curriculum is really important, but that curriculum should also be fluid. If you're teaching a curriculum and you're noticing your students aren't getting something, then revisit it and, just keep working from there. It's extremely important. Have a curriculum, but let it be fluid, but make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you have a plan for how you're teaching so that you can get your students from point A to point Z that you were trying to get them to. Sometimes, just going from spot to spot to spot and then not knowing what you're going to teach before you walk into class is hard. You should always know your details and continue on like that. So for me, have a mentor and have a plan, not just for your business, but for your classes. There's so much more that goes into this. I have a young man who works at my front desk. And he said, Professor, I had no idea how much goes into what you do. And I have no idea how you do this all on your own. And I was like, well, I don't do it all on my own. I got you and I got Heidi and I got a couple other people, but it's a lot of work. So you can't just open a gym and think, it's not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come, We wish it was, but that's just not the case. So,
Yeah, that's great for a movie, but not so much real life, right? You can't just wing it. So a couple of things I gleaned from that is having a mentor is extremely important, but also it shouldn't be a cookie cutter. You know, what it works for one person may not work for you, so you got to be able to be flexible enough in that, but learning what you can from a mentor instead of reinventing the wheel, right?
right. And every market's different too. Like for here, we're in the military market. I'm going to lose students every 3 years, right? They're going to be here for orders. They're going to go. And then they go. So you have to have a plan to replenish. Of course, we wish that we could have students who stay here forever, but that's not going to happen. So, but here we might have that. You might not have that in Des Moines, Iowa. You know.
Absolutely. And I also gleaned that it's important to have a curriculum and some structure, but also be willing to flex when needed or as needed within that.
Exactly, because jiu-jitsu is fluid, right? We see it all the time. I talk about this all the time. Like people say, "Oh, check out this new thing that somebody's doing from here." I'm like, "That's not new. It's cyclic. Things go and come, and in many ways, just like any sport, it's monkey see, monkey do. And so if one person's doing it, people start doing it. So instead of trying to do exactly what everybody else does, I just try to, when they zig, I zag. What's going to beat what everybody else is doing instead of try to do everything else that everybody else is doing.
So, Ricardo, if I ask you to kind of sum up your jiu-jitsu philosophy, what would that be? I mean, is it something like, hey, you always smash, or only one person can be comfortable, or is it more like, hey, we're all about helping each other grow and learn? Where does that arrive with you as far as your basic philosophy?
Well, I think as an instructor, I'm always trying to, like our academy, we line up by rank. And I tell the students that are in the back that you're working hard to get to the front and be beside the people who are up at front. And the people who are at the front, your job is to help bring the people from the back up to you. If you want to get better, you help your training partners get better. So it's a learning environment. I've been at academies where it's just, we all kind of beat each other up. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that. And we just kind of do that in different classes. But as you're starting jiu-jitsu, I think you got to be at a point where you're trying to get people to learn. For me, if I'm out there competing or I'm training, you get no space. That's my goal, is no space. And understanding if you're a competitor, there's so much more to it than just going out there and being the best athlete. You've got to understand the rules. You've got to understand what's going on where. And certainly that's something that Sensei Bruno helps me out with a lot. Like I bounce stuff off his head all the time, and there's always good information back for me. So your ultimate goal when you go out to compete is to win and do it fairly and do it efficiently. And that's the efficiency part is what we're all working on when we're doing jiu-jitsu, whether we're competing or not. Jiu-jitsu is about being efficient. Like you can't have a 3-hour match and put everything into it, the whole time, or else you're gonna end up with rhabdomyolysis and all kinds of bad things are gonna happen to you. So learning to be efficient with your jiu-jitsu, but understanding the rules of whichever tournament you're fighting in. Like I'm going to go off the path here, but I hear a lot of people complain about different tournaments. I don't like these rules. I don't like that rules. Well, you don't have to like the rules, and you also don't have to compete. You don't have to compete in that tournament. But if you understand the rules of that tournament and you go out and compete, you should be fine. Go out to another one, be ready for that one too. And you should be ready for whatever tournament that you walked into, regardless of the rule set. You have to understand it and utilize it to your advantage, and then just move on from there. So I probably went very roundabout in my answer with that, but it's still about exploration. Even me, with so many years of doing jiu-jitsu, Master Pedro said, now you're a black belt. Now you can start learning jiu-jitsu. And so every day I'm learning something new. Like I don't rest on my laurels and just think that, I got it all. I don't. I'm learning every day. And that certainly is helping me out a lot. So.
I love it. I mean, what a great quote you just said by Master Pedro, man. That's amazing. And
I wish I could have come up with that.
Yeah, he does come up with some good ones, doesn't he? So it's simple but profound. And it sounds like you are well-rounded. You're all about your creating an environment of learning, growing, continue growing, and helping others come up, but also focusing very intently on what needs to happen when you're competing, a whole different arena. And what you said about knowing the rules is important. You might be familiar with one set of rules and do well, but then you decide just to hop in another competition where they're very different, and you kind of think, oh yeah, I got the differences. But if you don't know them well, the worst thing would be to lose because you just didn't understand the rules or forgot it or something, wouldn't it be?
Oh, but that happens all the time. Trust me. I just went to a tournament recently, and I watched a white belt try to heel hook somebody in the gi, and it was not, wasn't part of their rule set. And so they were like, "What did I do wrong?" They're like, "Well, you tried to heel hook somebody in the gi as a white belt, and that's not part of the rules." They were set. Well, then your rules suck. Well, okay, I guess, but you signed up for the tournament, so you should know the rules, and that happens to people all the time. I remember my son was doing a tournament, and he went in to go into like a single leg X, and he made a mistake, brought his foot past the midline, reaped the kid, and he got disqualified. I mean, he knows that's a rule, but he made a mistake, and he got disqualified. So, I mean, it's things like that. So, but the thing is too, is like I talk about competition, but we also were big onto self-defense here, right? So I'm lucky enough where I get to teach, I say I'm lucky I get to teach defensive tactics to Leo and military. I don't really see a difference between understanding self-defense and doing sports jiu-jitsu. Like if you're going to do it, just like as a competitor, you got to be well-rounded. As an instructor, I've got to be well-rounded too. Again, I'm not saying if there are schools out there that only do sport jiu-jitsu, that's perfectly fine. You're doing jiu-jitsu. It's no big deal. You're never going to hear me say anything about it. Just for me at my academy, we want people to understand the totality of jiu-jitsu. Like I've been places where I was like, so, do you guys ever utilize any striking in your jiu-jitsu? They're like, there's no striking in jiu-jitsu. What are you talking about? Well, there's no striking in competition jiu-jitsu if you're doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but now there are strikes that we utilize in jiu-jitsu, and if you're in a self-defense mode, there are some certain strikes that you should learn. I'm not telling everybody that they need to be turning into like, a Muay Thai fighter, because that might not always be the best thing for whatever, but you should have an idea of the self-defense aspects of it. So some things that work in sport jiu-jitsu are not going to work in self-defense and vice versa. So it's so important that people understand the totality of it. And again, that's why there's always so much to learn. Jiu-jitsu is endless. It's going to keep going. It keeps evolving. And there's always something new to learn.
I agree, and that's the beauty of it. And I agree with you. I really love the aspect. I love an environment that teaches both because there's beauty in all of it, right? And there's merit in all of it. The trouble is if you have a school that's just competition, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you think that's all jiu-jitsu is, there is something wrong with that. Or if you're just self-defense and you think that's all there is, there's something wrong with that too, in my opinion. I mean, to each their own. You can do whatever you want. But I like the aspect of kind of at least knowing about, you don't have to compete if you're mainly into self-defense, but it would be good experience to go do that at least once or twice, because you get to experience the adrenaline dump and different things that you don't get unless you're in a bunch of street fights. You don't get a chance very often to experience that. So even if you don't care about winning or losing, so there's merit in both, or you could be the other end. You love competing and you live for it. But if you don't learn or focus any on the self-defense, again, it's your prerogative, but you are missing out, in my opinion. So.
No, I certainly, I think you're correct. I mean, I love jiu-jitsu. I love every aspect of jiu-jitsu. And so when you have new aspects of jiu-jitsu to learn, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps me on the mats 6 days a week, and so from all of my injuries, in the military, I've got some paralysis on my left side. Right. So coming back and competing again, I had to relearn how to compete. Like my body was not working the way that it used to when I competed all the time. So I went back out and competed. I did well. I didn't win the tournament or anything like that, but I did well. My whole thing was don't look like a fool out there. So I don't think I look like a fool. And so now I'm looking forward to my next tournament, whenever that one's going to be. And just the preparation for it. For me, I enjoy the work, the extra exercise that goes into it. For me, that's fun. For some people, it's not. And I tell my students all the time, nobody here has to compete. You should try it at least once, see how you do, and go from there. But, I talked to, I remember I asked Bernardo Faria, when he came out here and did a seminar, I asked him who he thought was the best that he's ever seen was, and he told me who that particular person was. And then I said, what do you think about people who don't compete? He goes, there are people back at the headquarters who will wipe the mats with everybody. He's like, there's this one guy, nobody can beat him. He doesn't compete. I think he said he was a doctor, and nobody can beat him. Like, if he went out and competed, he'd beat every world champion out there. At least that's what he felt. And so just because you don't compete doesn't mean you're not good at jiu-jitsu. It doesn't mean that you don't have the skills to go out there and do it. Some people just don't want to compete, and that's fine. That's fine. So, I just think everybody should train. Just come out, train. It's so good for your mental health, as long as your physical health. And, we're lucky here. We built a community with camaraderie, people looking out for each other. I mean, you can see across that we did a seminar with Jeff Curran, and instead of our students having to pay, we asked them to bring in items for Grow Foundation, which is a foundation that aids survivors of domestic violence, and there's probably $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff sitting right in front of you right now. That's all going to go to people in need. Hey, we should put up a Christmas tree. It looks like Christmas.
Yeah, it's literally the front part of your school is literally full of bags right now. Yeah, it's crazy. No, that's great though. I think that's just another way of impacting your community in a profound way. So, doing what you love with jiu-jitsu, but also impacting the community in various ways. I think that's wonderful, man. And it speaks to your character and who you are, and that you're really making an impact instead of just selfishly doing jiu-jitsu, which, I'm not judging anybody for that either, but I think it's so much more when you're giving back. So props, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, before we end, I know you've mentioned a number of people that have been big influences and had a big impact on your life. Anybody that you feel like you haven't mentioned that comes to mind, or even off the mat, anybody that's been very impactful in your life that you want to just kind of acknowledge or shout out to?
I mean, I mentioned it before, but my wife is my number one training partner. She's the person who's right next to me every day, helping me get better. So I can't say enough about how much my wife has helped us get better and move on. And she's always there when I need her. But again, I've really had some amazing instructors along the way, and I cannot, I can't thank them enough. I've mentioned them, Marcelo Alcantar, Leo, Master Dracolino. I still call him Master. Bruno Bastos. His brother, Hiko Bastos, has helped me a lot during the way. And just Alan Murillo has been a huge influence. And, he was my instructor. He's my friend. And, he owns a school across the town, and we're always working together. Bet Heaton, Sanjay Hibero is somebody who I really look up to, and I've been able to train with and get beat up by. There's a lot of people. I can't not forget Rodrigo Chalero, who is amazing. Another guy who I think is probably one of the best martial artists ever. He's on the national wrestling team, national judo team, wrestled, did ADCC. He's won Masters World Champion in Jiu-Jitsu, and he has his own defensive tactics program that I've gone through. He's another amazing guy. Like, I could go on and on. So many people and teammates who have helped me get to the position where I'm at now. I'm lucky. I've got to learn from Hoist Gracie a lot, and Hoist is amazing. And also somebody who I've become friendly with over the years. Pedro, God, there's so many. Like I said, I've been around for a long time, but I've had to move a lot. So I get the opportunity to learn from a lot of different guys and ladies too. I don't know. I'm just grateful to Jiu-Jitsu and what it's done for me and my family and what it's done for our students and how it helps. So it's such a cool thing about Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu helps so many people in so many different ways. And I had one of my students come up to me and he looked me dead in the face. He's like, you're changing lives here. And humbly, I just kind of bit my tongue a little bit. But humbly, he was able to, explain to me what he meant. And I appreciate it. That was my buddy, Steve, or we call him Costco because his arms are like, I don't know, like cow arms. So he's a good dude. So, just a lot of things. We just have so many people who take care of us at this school that it's pretty awesome. So I got lucky. We just built a fantastic community here. So everybody should come join us.
Absolutely. Well, the name of it is Di Firma. I want to use an accent for some reason.
That was good.
Di Firma Training Center and in Chesapeake, Virginia. So definitely check it out. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. If you're in the area, certainly come and see Professor Ricardo. And I can't thank you enough for the time, man, and letting us get to know a little bit more about you and your life and your academy. So thank you, sir, and much respect. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you making the trip out here to see us, and I hope that I hope everybody goes out and tries jiu-jitsu at least once. And if you guys ever want to come visit, you're always welcome to come visit.
All right. Be well, my friend.
All right. Take care.
All right. Really enjoyed that conversation with Ricardo. What an interesting person he is with so much life and jiu-jitsu experience. And I really enjoyed the opportunity to be there in person with him at his academy. If you're in the area of Chesapeake, Virginia, definitely make a point to check out his academy. All right, if you haven't checked out the Breathing for BJJ program, you got to check it out. It's guaranteed to take your functional capacity to breathe on and off the mat to a whole new level. It focuses on a biomechanical approach, and it's without a doubt the best thing I've ever done, not only for my health, but certainly for my jiu-jitsu. Find out more about it at www.breathingforbjj.com. All right, up next is the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment.
Fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times it will test you to your very core. It will not be easy.
It's all right to fail as long as you fail forward. It's all right, but I need you to have heart, because there's some things you just can't get without perseverance.
When things are going bad, there's going to be some good that will come from it. Mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Didn't get funded? Good. We own more of the company. Didn't get the job you wanted? Good. Go out, gain more experience, build a better resume. Got injured? Good. Needed a break from training. Got beat? Good. We learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have an opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. No. Take that issue, take that setback, take that problem and turn it into something good. Go forward. If you can say the word good, it means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. It means you've still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
I challenge you to see your problems as a great thing. I challenge you to start being thankful that you have the opportunity to grow, get stronger, get more focused, get more skilled, and kick more ass because of every hardship you face.
It's hard to handle it. You got to fortify yourself and say, come on with it. I've got to step into it.
Just find an excuse to win. Keep going.
If you're going to be successful in this game, you got to have a dog within you. You got to know it's a dog fight, and you got to go get that fight. Life ain't going to be easy. Ain't nobody going to hand you nothing. You still got to go to work. You still got to compete against everybody in your industry. Life's still going to happen while you trying to blow up.
I want to know what the I'm made of. I want to know what I can overcome. And I know from experience that the harder the task to overcome, the more strength I'm going to gain from it. These are the days that test your fortitude. They test your endurance, your grit, your dedication, your determination, your mental toughness, your character. You are testing your ability to do something. And that something is something critical to your dreams. At the very moment when everything in you wants to do absolutely nothing, when you'd rather die than send another email or take another phone call or talk to another human, you gotta get the job done. It's an opportunity to prove what you're made of. It's an opportunity to prove you are what you say you are in your head. When you look in the mirror and you say, there goes a bad motherfucker, you actually believe it.
What you become in the process is more important than the dream. The kind of person you become, the character that you build, the courage that you develop, the faith that you're manifesting. Oh, it's something that you get up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror, you're a different kind of person. You walk with a different kind of spirit. You know it was hard, but you did it hard.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I thank you for listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you feel like you're benefiting from the show and want to show your support, you can support us on our Patreon page and a link in the show notes. Please like and follow us on social media and help us spread the word by reposting our posts and telling others about the show. You can leave comments on the website at www.GJJRocks.com. You can also go to iTunes and leave comments as well as rate the show, and we would appreciate a 5-star rating, which helps us with our standing in iTunes. You can also leave comments on our YouTube channel. If you have suggestions for the show, please don't hesitate to give those. We always like feedback and suggestions. Okay, that's going to do it. So until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.